welcome to Ops on Cloud. In this specific video, let's try to discuss about a scenario-based behavior interview question. Okay, so most of the time when you attend for FANG, MANG companies or companies which are really good, other than some service-based companies, where they ask you direct questions like how do you create an EC2 instance, like, or how do you, what is dependency injection. Usually service based companies, they try to focus on like straightforward questions because they will have projects from product based companies, and they will have to deliver specific short term goals of the product based companies. Okay, so most of the time it works like that, so therefore they tend to ask like straightforward questions. But when you attend for good companies, right, so they don't care about the actual tech stack, but they try to see like what kind of contribution that you have done. And to know that, they want to, they try to understand how well you have went inside that project, what exactly you have done. So by asking some complex, I mean like behavioral question, if somebody asks you straightforward question, it's always easy. But when you work with behavioral questions, right, it's always a little bit tricky and hard. Until and unless you have actually worked, it becomes very hard for you to answer. Okay, so therefore, I mean like for people who are applying for good companies and they want to handle such kind of scenarios, right, so to help them, I'm coming up with a series of behavioral questions with actual use cases, all these things. Okay, so this specific use case, what we are discussing, we are taking a challenge which Slack has faced, or which has happened in Slack as an organization. Okay, the reference is from Slack engineering blog by itself. Okay, I took a use case from there and then I have modified it for a behavioral question, and let's try to discuss in deep and how you answer. So at the time of interview, you can exactly follow the same way like how I am answering. So I'm basically following star pattern. Okay, this is a widely followed accepted interview answering method or technique. Okay, I would highly recommend you to follow the same thing, so it becomes very crisp at the time of interview. So the question is this: describe a time when you have leveraged automation and emerging technologies to solve a complex technical challenge. What steps you did or you took, and what was the outcome? See, it's very interesting actually. Come on, let's discuss now. Okay, so what is the situation? See, star means first we start with the situation. The situation is exactly, you can tell this. So when I was working with a company ABC, so basically what happened is, one of the engineering team, they faced challenges in migrating 242 Jenkins CI/CD pipelines, okay, to good GitHub Actions. To address this, right, I was involved a part of this specific situation. Okay, while GitHub Actions imported tool will automate 50% of the conversions, the problem is 45% of the pipelines were only partially converted and 5% entirely failed. And these gaps, whatever happened, right, they needed some manual fixes, which actually created problem with respect to the timelines of the overall migration activities. And the estimate was, we might lose approximately 1300 hours of developers time if we are not fixing this issue as soon as possible. This was the situation. Okay, with respect to the task, how will you answer? So task means what you have done. All right, in this specific this was situation, what was your role? Okay, that is what you try to focus in task. So in this specific situation, my responsibility was to design and implement a tool to automate the correction of partially converted workflows. And here, the main goal that I focused was to reduce the manual efforts by resolving the common errors. So, for example, we were getting errors with respect to unsupported Jenkins steps, depreciated action, and also we need to make sure that developers could focus on testing rather than writing the pipelines by itself. So these to address this was the exact task which I did. So basically, building and implementing a tooling to automate this process. That was my main task. Okay. So but you are not supposed to say task or something. Just try to say it as responsibility. Change the wording, make it more realistic so that the interviewer will feel live. Okay. And then let's talk about in this task what actions you did, right? That is also important. So with respect to task, you we are clear, and action. So initially when I started this specific task, right, so I conducted detailed analysis of the importer's audit report. Okay, so there I was able to identify there were 8 unsupported Jenkins steps. For example, I saw in parallel in workspace management, in such kind of scenarios, it was unsupported, and such kind of steps were responsible for 90% of partial or failed conversions. So because of this, what I did is I worked closely with the DevOps team so that we can categorize the errors by frequency and impact, and we basically prioritized. I prioritized. Don't use we. Try to use I. Even I have the tendency towards we, but you try to focus on using I. I prioritize the fixes like replacing the rate limiting in GitHub API calls, and also the deprecated syntax errors, whatever is there, right? That is the first level of research which I was able to identify. And then, with respect to strategy, what I did is I wrote a regular expression based scripts to replace the rate limited public actions. Okay, so the thing is in GitHub Actions, right? We have multiple actions which is available. Okay, so there is something called there are actions which is provided for like rate limiting public actions. So for that there is something called as checkout action is there. You can also name that. Okay, so this rate limited public actions is there, right? So basically, I try to handle that part separately, and then there were some comments like unsupported Jenkins step errors were there. Okay, so basically that actually added lot of noise to the workflows. I tried to remove all these things, and I also added the integrated the existing GitHub actions with Vault secret managers. So because in our current project, so Vault acts like HashiCorp Vault acts like a centralized secret manager. So because of that, from in GitHub action also I tried to integrate that one. This is one of the activity which I did. And this activity cannot be directly automated with any specific extensions or tooling. So that is why I wrote a script which will do this specific activity. Okay, and 'cause and also I'm an explorer of new technology and new tech and new skills always. So therefore, I knew that I can use this advanced GPT-4 modules, so which will basically replace the actions like the action to notify Slack. Okay, basic what I did is I created a LLM model kind of thing along with the specific pipelines. So what it will do is the messages, what the prompts are there, right? I re-engineered the prompts by implementing continuous feedback loops. So I did some kind of iterative testing for 20 plus workflows. Okay, so because of this, right, the LLM accuracy increased, and I was also able to showcase to other development team like 100% of the time we are getting good results. Okay, and where exactly I have used with respect to the notification part, sending the notification messages in Slack channel, Teams, all those things. So that is where exactly I use this instead of having hard coded one. So what this LLM will do is, let's assume there is a error that comes in GitHub Actions pipeline. Okay, and now you can't I mean like send each and everything or in a log file, right, or in a Slack channel. So therefore this LLM will only try to identify the log file, what are the critical aspects that a developer need for debugging purpose. It will pick only those things and send a message nicely in a beautified way. Okay, that is also one of the advanced thing which I did, or recent technology I used exactly. Okay, and also I also created a shared canvas doc, so that developers are there, right? They can report if there is any issues, right, within this plugin migration. So developers can basically report those issues. So due to this, it becomes very easy for us to track. These multiple. Scenarios or errors that other teams are failing or are facing. Sorry. Okay, and then you can also tell that here you are trying to showcase how well you collaborated with multiple team members. So for that, you can simply tell I held weekly syncs with the stakeholders or different team members to identify what are the unique Jenkins use cases they are facing, or what are the unique Jenkins migration use cases are there for GitHub Actions, to identify the new scenarios. Okay, everything was not done in one shot. In this specific, I was not able to do everything in one shot or one sprint. So initially I gave them the base level working of tooling, so which already started migrating very well, and later based on the continuous feedback loops and user acceptance testing from approximately 10 developers, right, I took their feedbacks and I implemented lot of optimization, all these things. Now, this is the most important part. You should also tell what are the challenges that you faced. Okay, so the challenges are, see, some Jenkins pipeline relied on this proprietary plugins, where we were not having any GitHub Actions equivalent to resolve this. So basically, what I did is, in such kind of scenarios, I documented these kind of plugins, Jenkins plugins, specific use cases in Canvas doc, and then I worked on building a manual migration strategy for that. And also, there were some in GitHub Action importers, right? Occasionally, I noticed it generated workflows with deprecated syntax. Okay, for example, with respect to set env, to mitigate such kind of issues, right, I wrote a separate script which will detect and update the outdated commands to like whatever the latest command updates are there, right, or the modern equivalent commands. I have updated it to that part. Okay, and also functionally also I faced some challenges. Those were, so basically some developers were there, right? They were skeptical. I mean, like they were not comfortable with this AI generated workflows or notifications, all those things. Okay, so for them I had to prove by showing my test results, all these things, for them to understand and implement or accept. So that is also one of the challenges which I faced. But after implementing this specific use case, right, or developing this tooling, I was clearly able to get a very good metrics. So the tooling reduced the manual migration time by approximately 80%. Okay, so basically it reduced approximately 50% of the pipelines. I mean, like that required almost like zero edits post conversion. And also the developers praised the tool's clarity, and also particularly with respect to this automated comments for manual steps, those things. With respect to scalability also, the solution whatever I created, right, the DevOps team took it as a blueprint, especially with respect to the LLM prompt. They wanted to extend it to other use cases as well. Okay, and also the way I designed the canvas doc for this specific use case, so that covered 95% of the edge queries. So that also reduced the follow-up meeting by 40%. So I would say like these are some of the very good results which I was able to achieve by doing this specific activity. This is how basically you are supposed to answer. Okay, so this was a exact situation. Okay, most of the times when you attend behavioral interviews, right, the assumption is that you will give non-technical answer. It will never work out. Okay, yeah, it will never work out like that. All right, so you will have to take a technical answer, okay, or technical situation on on top of that only you should answer your behavioral question as well. It might be with respect to conflicts or whatever. And when you try to attend loop interviews, especially for I mean like companies like Fang and Bang companies, like don't try to give same answer for all in all the loop interviews. Don't try to give the same scenarios again and again. Okay, so because it becomes very hard even for the panel to judge you or to take a good decision, especially when you apply for senior level of experience, right? Try to showcase the variety of experience that you have. That's also very important. All right. So I would highly recommend to follow these things. And this is one of the use case. You can definitely prepare using this one, and you can even use this for your interviews as well. Okay, it should be good. So I hope you like this video and this efforts. If you like it, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and let's meet for the next one. Signing off for now. Bye bye. Take